and welcome to our virtual collective worship. During this week, there is a very special Saint's Day, a saint called Benedict. Benedict was a monk. That's somebody who has chosen to live his whole life praying to God, working for and serving God in a community of other people who are doing the same thing. A lady who has chosen to live that way is usually called a nun. Monks and nuns live in communities. Sometimes we call them monastic communities, and that's where the word monk comes from. And they might live in a monastery or a convent. Now, when a lot of people live together and they try to follow a routine together, they soon get tetchy with each other. They might think that somebody else is having more than their fair share of the lovely fresh bread that Brother Brendan made this morning. Or that someone hasn't been pulling their weight and helping to clean properly. Or that somebody keeps falling asleep during prayers and perhaps has been staying up too late at night and catching up with their sleep in the middle of prayers instead. And if you're not careful, even people who live their lives for God in a community might fall out with each other and get cross. Benedict saw this happening in the community he lived in, and he saw some people behaving in ways that were lazy or selfish or greedy, and some people who were having to do the work that others didn't do. And he thought, we should have some rules. Rules that help us share the work out fairly. Rules that help us share the spare time out fairly so that everyone can have a rest or go and do something they enjoy. Rules that help make sure that we all understand who's in charge. Oh, can you hear that? That bell tells you that I'm in a church, doesn't it? And in a rule, it might tell you, what do you do when a bell rings? Actually, that was the clock bell, so it doesn't tell me to do anything. But a different kind of bell might have said, here's the rule, now you've heard that bell, go and pray. Or now you've heard that bell, go and get your dinner. Rules can help us to do well. And so Benedict wrote a rule. We call it the Rule of St Benedict. And lots of communities of nuns and monks all over the world, ever since St Benedict's time, have used that rule to help them work out how to live together well. And the rule is so helpful that lots of people who are not nuns or monks use it as well. For all of us, rules can sometimes be useful. They don't always have to be boring. Rules can protect us, and rules can make things fair. Can you think of a rule that you have in school? Perhaps your school has got a rule about running in the corridors. Is it allowed? Perhaps your school has got a rule about when you have to be quiet and when it's okay to talk. You have to listen carefully to your teacher to know when, don't you? Perhaps your school has got rules about how you share things, about how you talk to your teachers, and perhaps you need to know that the school will have rules for your teachers too, about how they do their work and about how they talk to you. And all those rules help us to live together in school in a way that is fair, allows us to share properly, and allows us to make sure that everybody can learn well and feel safe. And in the whole of society we have rules. At the moment we're probably quite aware of a lot of them. Here, standing in a church, I'm getting this church ready for when people can come and attend a service in the church. But you know that at the moment we have rules we call social distancing rules. So I can't just let people sit next to each other in church anymore. They've got to sit, can you remember how far apart? That's right, 2 metres. And in order to help people sit 2 metres apart, we're making rules and saying it, but we're also doing things that help them keep the rules. So if I move my camera and show you, here we are, this yellow and black stripy tape, and I'm going to move this camera right back. You can see lots of yellow and black stripy tape. That tells people you can't sit here. If there's yellow and black stripy tape, it's not safe to sit here. Those rules will help to keep people safe. Those rules will help people who come to church not to risk catching the coronavirus. We don't want that to happen to anyone, do we? What's a good rule? Perhaps, as a challenge for this week, you could think with your family about what good rules you might have in your house for the summer holidays. Maybe during the summer holidays it would be good to have a rule about sharing, about taking turns with toys, about how much screen time you can have to play on a video game or the iPads. Or maybe you'd have a family rule about whose turn it is to help with the hoovering each day, or to help do the drying up. All these rules help us to live more fairly and to share well. And we learnt how to do it well thanks to St Benedict. I'm going to say a prayer now, and if you agree with praying, then please say Amen in your loudest voice at the end of the prayer. Dear God, thank you for St Benedict and for the rules that he wrote to help monks and nuns to live together well. Thank you for all the monks and nuns that are still there today, praying and living according to St Benedict's rule or other rules. Help us to use rules well and fairly. Help us to obey the rules that keep us safe and make it possible to share well. And if we are people who have to help write rules, help us, like St Benedict, to be fair when we write them. Amen. Well, it's lovely to see you and to do this worship from St Edmund's Church. I hope I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.